You're listening to the audio production of The Journals of Jim Elliot, An Ordinary Man on an Extraordinary Mission, edited by Elisabeth Elliot, published by the Elisabeth Elliot Foundation. Print book cover art courtesy of Revell, a division of Baker Publishing Group. This book is read by Lyle Blaker and Aimee Lilly. To Herbert Ironside Elliot. Brother, partner in a Portland garbage business, fellow servant of Jesus Christ, who early recognized the scope of Jim's gifts and declared his willingness to spend his life at home praying for him. He prayed, but not at home. In the providence of God, he went to Peru, where he has been a missionary for 30 years in the high Andes and the tropical forests. Upon Bert's leaving, Jim wrote to his mother, "Remember, we have bargained with him who bore a cross. Our silken selves must know denial. Hear Aimee Carmichael. O Prince of Glory, who dost bring thy sons to glory through the cross, let us not shrink from suffering, reproach, or loss." Preface. A few years ago, Christ Church of Hamilton, Massachusetts, set up a missionary committee. Among the members were 2 former missionaries, of whom I was one, and a currently active missionary, the flying priest of the Quebec-Labrador Mission, the Reverend Robert Bryan. As we became acquainted, Bob was thunderstruck to learn that I was the widow of Jim Elliot. To find in so unlikely a place this living link with a man who, to Bob, was a legend, was what startled him. After the meeting, he told me that it was the story of Jim's death, along with 4 other missionaries, at the hand of jungle Indians called Aucas, which had goaded him to become a missionary. Each generation has its heroes, Bob said. Sir Wilfrid Grenfell inspired my father's generation. Your husband inspired mine. Bob is only one of hundreds who have told me what the story, recounted in newspapers, magazines, and in a book, Through Gates of Splendor, has meant to them. I have never counted the pile of letters I have received from readers of Jim's biography, Shadow of the Almighty, many of whom said it had the greatest influence in their lives of any book except the Bible. The book quoted heavily from Jim's personal letters and journals. When, 20 years after his death, a publisher first asked for the rest of the journals, I was hesitant. I had edited them carefully for the biography, trying to include enough to show the true man, trying not to include what seemed too private. There were those who felt despair on reading the biography, for Jim seemed larger than life, too holy, too single-eyed to be believed. I felt that such readers had not read very carefully, for the flaws, the flesh, the failures were there. There was no denying, however, the impact of his dedication to God. If that was what the reader remembered, that was as it should be. Here, then, is the rest. More flaws, flesh, and failures are revealed here. More also is revealed of that consuming thirst to do the will of God. There is, I discover, considerably more of our own love story than I had remembered. To include more than I did of the details of this part of Jim's life would have been disproportionate in the biography, but needs no defense in the journals, for they are presented almost in their entirety. The sum of all deletions amounts to perhaps 2 or 3 pages. Occasional lapses in grammar, inconsistencies in the spellings of names, and disorders in syntax have been allowed to stand. I have added notes for the sake of clarity. The 11th chapter of the book of the Epistle to the Hebrews recounts wonderful stories of things done by faith. These men conquered kingdoms, ruled in justice, and proved the truth of God's promises. They shut the mouths of lions. They quenched the furious
Sample complete. Ready to continue?